you can't do it through, through the wealthy and the contractors and the government. And it's not an impossible task. And it can be done, for example, the way Partners in Health did it. Developing institutions which are taken over by Haitians trained to do the job. And that's in a very poor rural area, incidentally. They picked one of the poorest areas purposely. And it's a very successful functioning clinic. I mean, one of the very few that's operating. Haitian run, pretty much.
What is the role of technology, if at all, that you see in the reconstruction of Haiti by Haitians? Do you see any much of a role for technology in this?
Is there a role for technology?
Right.
Well, I'm sure there is. But I'm not going to talk to you about that, because you know it way better than I do. Yeah, I'm sure there's any imaginative use of technology could be very helpful if it gets into the right hands and is used for the right purposes. I mean, we all know that technology is basically neutral. You can use it to destroy and to repress. You can use it to liberate. Depends how it's used.
Other question? Can we ask a related question? Like, what's your reaction to the Supreme Court ruling about big money?
Yeah. Good question.
Supreme Court ruling? January 21st is going to go down as a dark day in American history. I don't usually agree enthusiastically with New York Times editorials, but their lead editorial today was correct. It's a major blow at democracy, or what's left of it, done very systematically by extreme judicial activism, just what these right-wingers on the court claim to be opposed to. The Chief Justice took a minor case and maneuvered it in such a way that he could set up removing a century of precedent, which imposed some limits on corporate, corporate takeover of elections. I mean, they pretty much run it anyway, but there were some limits. That's all overturned yesterday by the court. There are now no limits, which is essentially saying just buy the elections and buy the candidates. The commentary on it was kind of interesting, both in the Times and by the dissidents. They pointed out that in 1907, when these laws were passed, putting some constraints on corporations, that's about the same time that corporations were given astonishing rights by the courts. They were given the rights of persons, which is a huge attack on what are called conservative principles, classical liberal principles. And that was bitterly condemned by conservatives. They used to exist 100 years ago. It was condemned as a kind of return to feudalism, as a form of communism, which is granting legal entities established by the state for the right of persons. And it turns out they have to be pathological persons, people we would lock up if they were flesh and blood. They have to work, they're required by law to work only for themselves. Can't do anything good except, for propaganda purposes. Those are the kind of people we send to mental hospitals. Furthermore, if you go on through the century, they've by now in the trade agreements given rights way beyond those of persons. So yeah, it's right to go back to 1907. We ought to recognize what happened in 1907. Very severe blow at American democracy. This is just another, even more lethal blow. The dissenting opinion written by Stevens did deal with the question that, the way the question came up, well, why is, say, General Motors any different from a media corporation? Media corporations the right to say anything they want, so why shouldn't GM say, and say means pay, because money has been determined to be speech. Why shouldn't they pay as much as they want to buy an election? Well, putting aside the money speech issue, there's some truth to that. The media are corporations and very much constrained by the fact that they represent corporate interests. So they just drew the wrong conclusion from that observation. But yeah, there's some hand the country over to a narrow sector of wealth and power, you get a rich country's version of Haiti. Not as horrible as Haiti, but structurally becoming similar. And those are very explicit decisions. Nothing in economics tells you that has to happen. Just political decisions made on the basis of power relations. It's unbelievable if this is tolerated altogether, but yesterday's decision is shockingly bad. And it's probably irreversible. So the only real way to reverse it would be a constitutional amendment. But once you have the legislatures and Congress in the pockets of the corporate system, nothing's going to happen. And this decision just sends them deeper into those pockets. To try to reverse this and reconstruct some form of functioning democracy is not going to be a slight task.